I'm sure if you have gone through the interview for cloud engineer, solution architect, or infra engineer, or if you are planning to have an interview for these roles, then you may face question like this: what is Bastion host and how will you deploy this? Whether it's for AWS cloud platform or Azure or GCP, in some point of time interviewer may ask you about this. So in this video friends, I am going to give you the total demo and total understanding of Bastion host, why companies are using Bastion host, and in which way they are using it, and how you can go ahead and deploy the Bastion host. So let's go and check out what is the Bastion host. So if you look into this diagram, then you can understand it what exactly Bastion host is. Here is my Bastion host, which is in public subnet. So if you look at this total diagram, then you will find there is a demo VPC in which I do have two subnet in availability zone A and availability zone B. One is the public subnet, other is the private subnet. I do have Bastion host implemented in this public subnet, and there are two other EC2 instance which is implemented in the private subnet. So what exactly the meaning of public and private is that internet gateway is attached to this Bastion host. It is nothing but the EC2 instance like these instances. This Bastion host actually allow you to connect with these instances privately on AWS network. Rather than exposing this to the internet, we are accessing this from this Bastion host so that we can maintain the security protocols and save this instance. Suppose that you do have the RDS database server and you don't want to expose it to the internet, then you can simply implement it in the private subnet part and access it from the public subnet part through the Bastion host. So I suppose you can now have the understanding of what exactly Bastion host is and how you can implement it. So in practical session, I will create a demo VPC and then create a two subnet. One is public subnet, another is private subnet in different availability zone, and then I will connect one subnet which is the public subnet with the internet gateway and do all the configuration which is required to access these private instances. So here we do have one more diagram which will illustrate more clearly. Now we are the user here, Bastion host users, and this is the Bastion host security group in public subnet. This is the VPC inside which all this resides, and this is the private subnet part with the other Linux instances, and these are the Linux instances security group. So it has the separate security group, this has the separate security group. We need to configure this security group as well and this security group as well, so that user can easily access this private instance through the Bastion host over the AWS private network. So now let's go ahead and create this all. I'm on my AWS console now for demo purpose. So we need to create our VPC first. So we will go to VPC section, create VPC, and from here we will go with VPC and more and give the name of the VPC. That would be demo VPC. We will keep the CIDR block of 20 and tenancy should be default. Number of availability zone, we need to availability zone, and as we are going to select the availability zone, according to that number of subnet would be varied. So if you are going to select one, there would be one public subnet and one private subnet, but we need two availability zone, US East 1A and US East 1B. So we do have the segregation between the different subnet. So that's why we are selecting two subnet. You can do it with the one subnet as well, and we don't need any net gateway and the S3 gateway. So here is the beauty of this new VPC creation. If you are going to look at on the right hand side, then you will get the whole connection flow. If you are going to select your VPC, then it will let you know how traffic are flowing through the subnets. You can click on the right hand side as well, and it will show you how traffic are flowing through the internet gateway. It is going to the public route table, and after that it is going to the public subnet. So it is, quite better than the previous VPC creation process. So now click on create VPC. It will start creating the VPC with different kinds of resources. So here is the VPC, and now we need to create a security group. So click on security group, and we need to create two security group. So we will give the name Bastion host SG, and we will select our recently created VPC, that is demo VPC. Right now we are not going to add any rule, and click on create security group. So we have created our Bastion host security group. We need to create one more security group. Go to security group, EC2 private SG. Copy and paste same thing in the description, and select the VPC, that is demo VPC, and click on create. So we have created our EC2 security group as well. Right now we are not going to modify any inbound or outbound rule. Nothing is added over here. Let's go and create EC2 instance now. Click on launch. We are going to create our first Bastion host EC2. Select the free tier T2 micro. There is no key pair, so let's create a new key pair. My key RSA and PAM create, and it will get downloaded. Now it is coming over here, my key, and in network setting, edit and select demo VPC. We need to create this Bastion host in the public subnet. So we are going to select the public subnet. We do have two private subnet and two public subnet. So we are going to create this in US East 1A public subnet. Auto assign public IP enable, and select the previously created security group, that is Bastion host security group, and everything looks fine now. So launch now. Bastion host is under process, launching now. So let's go ahead and create the private EC2 instances, private EC2 instance underscore 1, and Linux image, and T2 micro, which is free tier eligible. Select the key pair which we have created previously, my key. Select the created VPC, that is demo VPC, and we need to create this in the private subnet. So first we are going to create in this US East 1 private. We need to disable the auto assign public IP, and we need to select security group which we have created for EC2, that is EC2 private SG. Now launch. We need to create one more EC2 instance, private EC2 underscore 2. Keep the setting as it is as of the EC2 1 T2 micro. Select the key pair, my key, and we need to select demo VPC, and here would be the subnet private to US East 1B. Okay, now keep this disabled and select the security group EC2 and launch. Bastion host which is in the public subnet with the IP public IP enable, and we do have two other EC2 instance in the private subnet with the public IP disable. So let's try to access this. First we need to copy our key pair. So this is my key pair. I am going to keep it in the C drive, AWS key. Now I am going to open CMD. So this is our Bastion host. This is the public IP I'm going to connect, right now we would not be able to do SSH in this because of the thing that we have not opened. Right now I would not be able to do SSH in this EC2 instance because we have not opened 422 in security group. So let's go ahead and open 422 for SSH. So we are going to VPC. In VPC section we are going to security group, and this is the Bastion host SG, and edit inbound, and here I am going to add port for SSH. So here it is, and you can click on my IP and it will automatically add my public IP, but right now I am going to give from anywhere. So it is not good to give access from anywhere. I am right now adding it. You can select your IP or any IP range through which you can access it. So now I am saving it. Now if I am going to refresh this page and go to SSH, now I am able to see this, and just copy it. In command line, right now I am in AWS key folder where I kept EC2 key. So please, whenever you are going to keep the EC2 key, you need to go to that folder in order to do SSH. Just copy this again and come to command line. You need to do one more thing, otherwise you will get this kind of error. What you need to do, you need to go to that folder, click on go to security in advance. You need to disable all inheritance, and then add select a principal. You need to add the present user. So Arvind K is the present user which I'm going to add as a principal. I'm going to give the full control, apply, okay, and now this will work. So if I'm going to fire same command in command line, I will not be able to get this error again. So it is mandatory when you are working, you need to remove the inheritance and you need to add the particular user to access those key pair and able to connect on SSH. So finally we logged into our Bastion host, and now we would like to connect to our private instances through this Bastion host. So how it would be possible? Let's recap what we did till yet. We have created a demo VPC. In this demo VPC, we have selected two availability zone, A and B. A availability zone, we have created a public subnet, and in B availability zone, we have created private subnet. We have created Bastion host in public subnet, and we have created two other EC2 instance 1, instance 2 in private subnet. Now we would like to access these two Linux machines. So we have connected to our Bastion host by opening the port 22 in security group of Bastion host, and we have connected to it. Now from this Bastion host we would like to connect with these two EC2 instances which are in the private subnet or which are on the private network of AWS. So what exactly we need to do over here is that we need to make a copy of this EC2 instance key pair on this machine, and we need to open SSH port 22 in the security group of this EC2 instances. Likewise, we have opened the port for this Bastion host in its security group. So let's go ahead and do it. So right now I am connected with the Bastion host, and if I would like to try to connect with any of the EC2 instances which are in the private subnet through the private IP and try to connect. Now what warning it is showing over here is that identity file my key pam is not accessible. No such file or directory exists. So we need to first make a file of my key on this machine. So how we will do it? Vi my key dot pam, and we need to go to our key pair folder, open it, and just select it and copy it. Go to your Bastion host and press I of your keyboard and then right click and it will get copied. So this is the private key which we need on this machine, which will make us to connect with the private EC2 instance. Now save it, press escape, WQ. Now we have our key, my key PEM is over here. Now if we are going to again try to connect with the private EC2 instance, we would not be able to do it because we have not yet opened 422 for SSH in that particular security group where EC2 is attached. So nothing gonna to happen, so let leave it like this and quickly go to that EC2 instance security group and open the port. So this one is the EC2 private SG. Go to inbound and add it. We are going to allow SSH. So this is our Bastion host and this is the public IP. So I'm going to just mention this and save. Now let's come back and see if it is going to connect with this or not. So still nothing is happening. Actually we are trying to connect with the private IP. So I suppose we need to make the change for the private IP. Let's edit inbound rule and this is the private IP. Save, cancel it and try to connect once again. Click on yes. Warning, unprotected key file. So what we miss out over here is that we have not supplied correct permission to this private key which we have copied over here. So what we did in case of our this key pair is that we have removed the inheritance by going to the property and security and then going to advanced and remove the inheritance from here. So what we are going to do on Linux machine is that we will provide chmod 400 my PAM key. And now let's try to connect and see we are able to connect with this private EC2 instance. So finally we are connected with our EC2 instance which are on the private network of AWS and these all are happening privately over the AWS network only. We are not exposing to the internet and nobody else can connect it without this particular Bastion host because key file is present over here and we have mentioned the IP of this particular Bastion host only. I intentionally tried to produce this error so that I can go ahead live and make the changes so that you can see what kind of changes I'm making with the PAM file, what kind of permission I'm going to provide to PAM file in order to make the connection possible. So it is very much necessary whenever you are going to work with EC2 instances, then you need to first supply the key pair and you need to provide the proper permission to that key pair so that it can work and get connected to your EC2 instances. If you are going to revise the security group of this, we don't need this, the public access. We are going to edit some inbound rule and we need to delete this one public IP and going to add one more. I just modified little bit to this security group which is the part of private EC2 instances. I have allowed it all ICMP IPv4 to this particular IP only and SSH is enabled to this particular private IP only. Save it. I believe that we previously connected with our EC2 instance 1 and this is the private IP of EC2 instance. So let's try to ping it. Ping. So it's not going to work because we have not enabled ICMP from this particular private IP to this EC2 instance. So just cancel it, exit from here and now try to ping. Just copy this and now we are able to ping our second private EC2 instance as well. So if we would like to go to connect with our second EC2 instance, then this will also work fine. So click on connect, go to SSH, copy this and just provide it here. Yes, And voila, we are connected with our private EC2 instance as well. Our demo is completed here now. I have shown you how you can access your Bastion host, and through that Bastion host how you are going to connect with your EC2 instance which are in the private network of AWS through that particular Bastion host only. If I am going to try to connect with some different IP, it will not work. And this is the beauty of Bastion host. So if you are going to look at this diagram, we are going to understand it more clearly. We as a user sitting over here on our machine, and we want to access these EC2 instance which are in the private network of AWS, or which is not publicly accessible. So we have created a Bastion host in the public subnet of the AWS. We have allowed it port 22 in this so that we can access it from our machine, and we have make a copy of key pair of this EC2 instance on this machine, and then we enabled port 22 in the security group of this private EC2 instances so that we can connect from here. This is the whole funda of the Bastion host. Like if we are sitting on the public subnet, or we are as a part of public, then how we can actually access the private EC2 instance privately without going on the internet. Now I believe that you will have the proper understanding about the Bastion host, what is Bastion host, how you can go ahead and deploy it, how you can connect with the private EC2 instances. Now if somebody is going to ask you in the interview about Bastion host and how you can deploy it, you can easily answer it. If you do still have any kind of question, you can let me know through your comments.